I mean, the bizarre, just this bizarre obsession with putting women, rather men, or at least people with penises.
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. You're gonna get me in trouble, Bill. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Why? There's no trouble for
Because
you. Your life is trouble.
I'm supposed to be totally okay
There's
with
no
it.
supposed to be. First of all,
is it bad that I don't want to see a dick in the women's locker room? Is that bad?
No. There's no.
I just don't. I don't want to see a cock in the women's locker room.
And you shouldn't, and no woman should. I mean, this is basic 101, and this is, again, to my point about, like, if I just listed, and I could do it for a long time, the things that they do because they're so tripped up by their own orthodox ideology that they think that makes them a better person, to be so counterintuitive about all these issues like this, that this makes them the good people, that they're way out ahead on this issue. And you're not, and it's not what people want, and it goes against human nature, and it's not helping. You didn't, you want to champion women, and you didn't. You did the opposite.
I know, because there's the hierarchy.
You made them uncomfortable,
no,
and
100%,
unnecessarily.
100%. Look,
in many ways.
When you see everything as a hierarchy, literally everything's a hierarchy, well then, inevitably, you're going to find yourself in a situation where the rights of one group kind of falls by the wayside.
Right. It's a zero-sum game.
Exactly. And I don't see it that way. I respect transgender people. I do not want to treat them like the others. I want them to have rights. I want them to be treated with dignity and respect.
Exactly.
At the same time, I also know what it's like to be a woman living in a state where we've decided self-ID makes the most sense. Okay, well, self-ID doesn't make the most sense.
No.
Because obviously, as you and I both know, there are all sorts of predators out there who are going to take advantage of that situation, and that's already happened. Right, so there was that big Wee Spa story, and it turned out that the so-called transgender woman who was allowed into the women's locker room at a Korean spa in downtown LA was not actually a transgender person, was a person who had a long record of, sexual exploitation and assault or whatever, pretended to be transgender, gets into the women's locker room, and I felt so bad because I bought the cover story when it was first reported, but I was wrong to buy it. I should have asked more questions. And that poor woman, she happened to be a Black woman who was complaining at the front desk of Wee Spa. She was dragged through the mud when in reality, she witnessed this person fondling themselves in the women's locker room. Now, this person is not transgender. This is not an indictment of transgender people. It's an indictment of a policy that was not thought through. And as a result, there are women who are going to suffer. And as a result, there are transgender people who are going to suffer because people are going to make the mistake of thinking, oh, well, that guy was transgender and this is how they behave. No, this is not how they behave. We need to be smarter about these policies. It's that simple.
It's so good to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Really good. I did not expect that.
Really?
Well, in general, you're a lot more reasonable than I thought you would. The fire breathers, are always trying to...
I mean, if we start talking about Gaza, I think you're going to disagree with me probably. That's probably where we have the most disagreement. But in terms of the transgender issue...
Well, then, maybe later. Maybe later. Because I will definitely carve you into little pieces on that one.
I don't know about that, Bill.
Okay.
I don't know about that.
But on this one, first of all, good for you for saying that. I say it all the time. It's no shame to say, "Oh, I believe the cover story."
Yeah, I do.
Because the cover story just means that everybody has their own narrative. Nobody pursues the truth on either side. You have to work really hard.
Yes.
But since it's my job, I do, to get the full story. Nobody ever prints if you read the New York Times and the New York Post, it's like these two, it's just funny to do it because it's like, oh, I see what you left out. Oh, I see what you
totally.
I see
love
what you
doing
left
that.
out. It's not that either one of you. Oh, of course, they both lie to a degree, and the New York Post is sometimes just flat out funny in how they do it, but they just omit.
Yes.
And but like you sound like. And I say this as a compliment, J.K. Rowling, because this is her thing. And I don't know if you saw her take apart Emma Watson.
No, I didn't see that.
There's something that was not reported in the New York Times that I saw. Like we don't see that. We don't notice this. This is not worthy of comment, and it so fucking was. And of course, in the New York Post, they loved it because J.K. Rowling, brilliant J.K. Rowling. I mean, not that I've ever read Harry Potter. To me, it's a children's book, but maybe someday.
Same, yeah.
You know,
I'm right
okay,
there with
but
you.
a great one. I'm sure got kids reading. But I just love her because, you know, she just says it. And she finally had enough of Emma Watson, who is, you know, super woke and, you know, one of the useful idiots, also on things like Gaza. And so, like, you know, which tells you something that her views on Gaza were just as crazy, I think, as her views on, you know, on the women thing. And, you know, J.K. Rowling was just unmerciful. She was like, well, you know, this is not an issue for you because when you go into a public bathroom, you have a bodyguard who stands outside the door, you know. And she talked about how, you know, when I was your age, I didn't have all this privilege that you're always so hateful. I was home working on the book that made you a star. You know, it was, she just wasn't having it anymore.
Yeah. You do get to a point where, and I think on a lot of issues, I'm at that point where you're just sick of the BS on both sides, right? And you want to cut through all of it. And look, honestly, you're never going to get to the truth if you're only relying on partisan media. And that's what I was doing. I was very much in a bubble. I didn't realize I was in a bubble. So now it's like, I have to eat my vegetables. To me, eating vegetables as someone who works in media is reading and consuming content that you know is going to make you uncomfortable because it's going to challenge what your preconceived notions are. If you're listening to a podcast...
The truth never makes me uncomfortable. It only exhilarates me.
I mean...
no matter where it's, you know, on whatever side it is.
Yeah?
And
you want to talk about a little bit of truth and Gaza then? You want to get exhilarated, right? I can exhilarate you.
I know you're going to say genocide, and I'm going to say, well, you don't know what the word means. And it's like, if you don't even know what the words mean...
I'm Armenian. I know what the word means.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's when you try to wipe out an entire population of people, which they didn't come close to doing.
I mean...
They prosecuted a war in which they were attacked, which everybody gets to do.
Which, by the way, let me just say,
you know,
if they were literally going after Hamas,
which they
that is legitimate. That's totally legitimate. But that's not what's happening.
Hamas hides in tunnels underneath hospitals. You can't go in.
Hold on.
Hamas is the bad guy. If you don't get that,
Hamas,
you don't get much.
What Hamas did on October 7th was disgusting. Killing. I mean, I don't at all hold back on that. In fact,
that's the easiest thing in the world to say.
I mean,
nobody disagrees.
I agree. Nobody
disagrees.
There are people who disagree, actually.
Raping baby. Yes, there are.
There are people who think I'm wrong because Hamas, they're freedom fighters. What kind of freedom are we talking about here?
That people see Hamas, the people who hate oppression so much, are on the side of the people. And that's not just Hamas. If you social justice warriors, if you have any other issue besides gender apartheid in the world that is above that, you're just a joke. That if you hate oppression, there is one issue which should be above all because it affects more people, hundreds of millions of women who have basically no freedom in the Muslim world.
Right. So we should slaughter them instead, which is what's been happening.
Well, you should prosecute a war to the end. That does involve slaughter of every war. You know.
I think. Listen, civilians get killed in wars. I think everyone knows that. Everyone acknowledges that.
Especially when you hide behind them.
But when 83%, according to the IDF's own data. And this is reported, by the way, I consume Israeli media on this. I don't consume American media on this. And Israeli media is super honest, way more honest than our media is. So when the IDF's own data indicates that 83% of the people that they've killed are civilians.
Because they hide behind them.
But Bill, do you understand that by killing so many civilians, they are essentially multiplying extremism?
I do understand that. Do you understand that there's very often in the world two very bad choices, and you only...
I mean, I'm an American. I have to vote in presidential elections. Yes, I do know that.
Okay, you don't have the good choice. You have the bad choice and the even worse choice.